good afternoon to you and welcome to Opinion 2017. This Tuesday, after mass protests rocked Nairobi and other parts of the country yesterday, which was Monday. And some unfortunate incidents did occur during the protests. It's also a time where it is quite uncertain if there will be elections on the 26th of October. And on this day, I am joined in studio by an astute politician, Ugunja Member of Parliament, Opio Wandai, who's also the Secretary for Political Affairs of the ODM Party.
Nice to
Karibu sana. Thank you for making time for us.
Welcome.
I know you have a very tight schedule. And of course, by Felix Lon, who is a lawyer and a political activist. Karibu sana. Thank you for being here. Now, Mheshimiwa, yesterday you were at the mass protests. And let's just begin from there. Some other unfortunate incident, and I think some of the shots that were fired by a person who's either a police officer in plainclothes or somebody who's just been allowed to have firearms right next to police officers, perhaps belonging to a militia, business community, or God knows who. But before we get into that discussion, our first topic, of course, is police brutality. Let's just play back the wheel a bit and have a look at a clip where police were tear gassing University of Nairobi students in their hostel in the most brutal fashion. Well, there you go. That was the video where university students were being flushed out of their hostels. So before we even get to what happened yesterday, Mheshimiwa, what's your take on this?
Well, looking at that video, clearly one would be forgiven to conclude that that is impunity in its worst form.
Right.
Yeah, in the sense that the police, National Police Service, the Kenya National Police Service, was supposed to have undergone reforms.
Yes.
Serious transformation.
Yes.
That's the reason why even the name changed from the police force then to the police service.
The police service, right.
A service is supposed to be responsive to the needs of the common person, the needs of the citizenry, whose core responsibility is to protect life and property of the citizens of the Republic of Kenya.
Right.
But when you find elements, I want to call them elements,
right.
I don't think the entire force is like, so the entire service is like that.
Right. If
you find elements within the National Police Service behaving in a fashion that is very similar to how private militia groups behave, right. Then you have got the reason why. Yes. Real reason why. And it is unfortunate that we are gradually seeing this very, very respected National Police Service being transformed by political forces into a partisan political tool for use by vested interests. It's rather unfortunate that in this day and age, Kenya could be witnessing such a situation unfold before its own eyes. Really eyes here.
I mean, if I just indulge you, Mheshimiwa, before you get too long, in your days at the University of Nairobi, I mean, could you even imagine of a thought that this can happen?
Such an incident would never have happened. It is true that students have demonstrated over the years. Yes. It's not the first time they're doing it last time.
Yes.
It's not the last time either.
Yes.
They'll still do it more and more in future.
Yes.
But the police is trained to manage riotous crowds. The police service is adequately equipped with the capacity to manage crowds that become riotous.
Yes.
At every stage. It is not the work of the police service to go beyond the place of riot or demonstration, as it were, and pursue students en masse in a hall of residence.
Yes.
And go ahead and throw tear gas canisters.
Right.
In a bid to flush them out.
Yes.
And mete out serious beatings, okay, on them.
Right.
To assault them physically in the most heinous manner.
Right.
That could never have happened. And it really calls to doubt the sincerity of those who are in charge of the National Police Service and their commitment to the Constitution, the 2010 Constitution, which has got serious safeguards in the form of Bill of Rights.
Right.
Yeah, in terms of the rights of the citizens to carry out themselves in a manner that is free, okay, without any fear of victimization, in terms of enjoying their rights of freedom of expression, freedom of demonstrations and picketing, and so on and so forth. So I strongly believe that there must be a sinister motive on the part of the characters of the persons who are encouraging this kind of thing to happen. Yeah.
Before I get you to Felix, quick comments. Let me just go through some of your comments. Judy, do they have children, these policemen? Well, I don't know. I suspect so. Janet, you're saying this was very wrong. How do they go to their hostels? I'm also wondering. Rachel, we will only vote on the 26th when the results are allowed to be aired live with media's TV and radio at every polling station. Also, Chiloba and Chirchir must go. Well, we'll get into that discussion. Evelyn, our policemen have turned to be something else. I don't know, courtesy of who? Well, that's a big question. You're a young man. Your fellow youth, academics, intellectuals, I mean, they were being hounded like criminals.
You know, this for me, I would like to put this in context.
Right.
Yesterday, the Kenya National Human Rights Commission released a report saying that over 37 people were killed by the police force in the aftermath of the declaration of the fraudulent results that were later overturned. We have instances where bodies were dumped in Lake Victoria.
Right.
So if you contextualize a situation like that, and then you come to a residence, to a halls of residence in a university, where students engage the police through a window and tell you, I am a first year, this is my second day in campus.
Right.
And then, happily, that police officer throws a tear gas into that particular hostel to flush out people. That is not police brutality, that is criminality. That is a violation of the students' human rights, it's a violation of the hallowed grounds that any institution of higher learning is. It's an abdication of duty, first by the Republic to its youth, secondly by those who lead the forces themselves.
Right.
But most importantly, the leadership of the University of Nairobi, especially its Vice-Chancellor. I do not understand if you're a Vice-Chancellor and your duty is first to protect the students that are under your care. You can see something like that happen and then fail to condemn it.
He was mute about it.
Fail to condemn it.
In fact, he said they were criminals.
The statement that he released actually encourages exactly what he did. But what, however, is doing this needs to know is that the second day, you know, after they brutalized students like this, those students turned and burnt that institution to a certain extent. So anybody who believes that they can actually brutalize people into fear,
right,
they are very wrong. They will brutalize citizens, but they will brutalize them into a resistance. So they have to know.
So basically, it's they're radicalizing the citizens.
Because as a young person, if your government will throw a tear gas to you in your bed, what responsibility do you have to that government?
But I think somebody did mention, I don't know if it's David D, who mentioned that if the people of Kisumu had guns like the people in Pokot, would the police action have been the same? But that's food for thought for another day. Let's come back to yesterday. Yesterday was a day where the NASA coalition leaders led peaceful protests. Mheshimiwa Wandai was there, Esther Passaris was there, John Badi, George Khaniri, Simba Arati, Gladys Wanga, and many others. And at the Central Park, just when the demonstration took off, a rather unfortunate incident took place. Let's just have a look at that video. Well, very unfortunate, and I think this is a part of the video that wasn't played, but towards the end there was a gentleman who was, okay, let me not use the word gentleman, I withdraw. There was a man who was firing, and I, if I'm not mistaken, did see a clip of the same man
On Friday.
on Friday's demonstration.
Yes.
Now, you do not know if this man firing is a police officer in plain clothes or is part of the militia, as Mheshimiwa you're saying. So let's just get into it. Let me just read this quick statement. What police did is not different with what Al-Shabaab did at Garissa University. Kasusi, Judy Jeff. So,
Actually, I was right there. When we converged briefly at the Central Park,
yes,
in the city center, and when we left the Central Park on our way to Anniversary Towers,
right,
where the IBC is domiciled, through Kenyatta Avenue,
yes,
we had hardly gone past the roundabout, the Kenyatta Avenue Uhuru Highway roundabout,
yes, yes,
when the first gunshot was heard. And for sure, somebody was brutally shot at.
yes, yeah. So I
by a person who identity we don't know it.
yes,
Okay? And in a short time, a vehicle ran over two people in
yes,
succession. Okay? And in a very, very well coordinated manner,
right,
fashion. And it was, if you noted yesterday, I was adorned in an orange shirt.
yes,
It was rather conspicuous.
yeah. It was a bit
Okay.
conspicuous. Yes.
And in the confusion,
Mm-hmm.
because immediately the gunshot was heard,
Mm-hmm.
and the vehicle ran over the two people. There was tear gas canisters being thrown, okay,
Mm-hmm.
at the crowd in the bid of to disperse them.
Right.
That's when some gentleman, I can call him a gentleman because I don't know him, yeah, actually came and whispered to me in the
Yes.
confusion
Yes.
that, Mheshimiwa, you are targeted. And you will notice that actually I left the demonstration yesterday fairly early before it ended. Okay? So I realized immediately that something could be amiss.
So the tear gas was supposed
Yes,
to
basically
be
to act
some
as
smoke
some
screen.
smoke screen,
Yeah.
to enable these funny characters to deal with the targets, as it were. So I quietly left the demonstration and went to other engagements.
Right.
Okay, within the city center, of course.
Right.
Okay, and you could tell that those who were doing this were up to no good. They were essentially out to harm peaceful demonstrators. And let me add this. You know, the right to peaceful demonstration and picketing is enshrined in the Constitution. It is not the work of the police to even purport to be licensing such demonstrations or acts of picketing.
Right.
Their work is simply to provide security to those Kenyans who are participating in the demonstrations, and also to ensure that they protect those other Kenyans who are not part of the demonstration alongside their property. No more, no less.
But
So when you find the police
Mhm.
arrogated themselves some powers which they do not have constitutionally, then someone must be misusing.
Yeah, they have
Yes.
been saying that they are orders from above. We have not yet been able to decipher.
Yeah, you see, this orders from above thing is a mystery. Because the National Police Service is not supposed to be under the direction or authority of any other person or authority. In fact, even the Cabinet Secretary for Internal or Interior, the person in charge of the police, that is,
Right.
can only give instructions to the Inspector General of Police in writing on policy matters, not on operational matters. So the buck must stop at the doorstep of the IG of police. Because constitutionally, legally, he is the commander of the National Police Service.
Right.
Yes, all these other things are relevant,
Right.
are really diversionary.
Mm.
Because the cabinet secretary has got no authority over the police service in so far as operational matters is concerned.
Correct.
The president, which is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, has got no authority over the national police service, save for the time when he is ceremonially appointing the IG after Parliament has.
So basically, the buck
PGF.
stops with the IG.
The IG, and in the fullness of time, the IG will have to be held to account. The IG and his officers, of course.
Yeah, because one disturbing thing, before I get back to you, Felix, is the IG has been loudly silent about. I mean, it's not like Boynet is there in all this. And you remember last Friday, I remember Senator, CI Senator James Orengo, indicating that you actually lost your spectacles.
Well, last Friday, they broke my spectacles when they threw the tear gas, and again in quick succession.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of tear gas landed just where I was, on Moy Avenue, just near Jivanji Gardens.
Right.
That's last Friday.
Last Friday.
Yeah. This time round, they are targeting me. I don't know how.
And actually, if you notice, if you look at the videos of last Friday and yesterday, the man who was firing was actually not very far from you as well. If you look at the video,
Okay, I haven't looked at them.
last Friday, and he was having a pistol, and funnily the same shot. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's a coincidence, or
But you see,
I don't want to say he didn't change his shot from Friday to Monday. But
there can only be two explanations. One, either the IG is aware of what's happening, which are basically criminal acts, as they rightly put them, and therefore he condones whatever is happening, or he has lost control of the service, of the police service. That there are parallel command lines,
right,
or there are parallel commands within the police service, which should be very unfortunate.
Yes.
It would be very, very unfortunate. I pray it doesn't happen to be the case. Okay? Because otherwise, how would you have rogue people, rogue officers, who at the slightest provocation, sometimes no provocation at all, release at throwing tear gas canisters at people, helpless Kenyans, going about their peaceful demonstrations. And they're so quick even to fire there. And just yesterday they fired at the person. They almost killed the person.
Yeah.
In fact, they would have killed more people. Really. So we need to ensure that the country does not go down the drain. That we do not reverse the clock of change in this country. That we do not go back to those dark old days when any form or shade of dissent was seen as subversion.
Right.
Yeah, we've seen them starting to use the subversion laws.
Yeah, they charge
people.
Yeah.
Laws which were last used during the Moi regime. You see, we must be very vigilant as a country so that we do not allow this regime to take us back to where we have come from.
Right.
Yes.
Felix, this vehicle, the registration number has been in circulation. I mean, people have done searches at NTSA. Names are being floated around. It doesn't seem like there's any action that is likely to be taken.
Just to pick from where Mheshimiwa left, there is a pattern that independent institutions, including public universities, the police and all that, seem to be taking cue or getting instructions from political players. Because the University of Nairobi, before it was closed down indefinitely, a politician posted on their wall that tomorrow the university
was that Moses Kuria?
Yes. And then
is he the same one who posted a photo with Msando's car before he was found dead?
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, if you move to what is happening, the police are actually sort of employing what I would refer to as a criminal entity to do their bidding or dirty work in this country. And the reason is very clear. Article 37 guarantees every Kenyan the right to picket. Every Kenyan. And these articles were entrenched in the Constitution.
But I don't know if there's a set of more people are more Kenyan than others, because we have seen people demonstrate. Yeah.
That is exactly where I'm coming to. You have an entity calling itself Nairobi Business Community.
Right.
We don't know where it is registered. We don't know when it came into existence. They are allowed to maraud the streets.
Well, at least they have one thing in common. They have a particular hairstyle.
They are allowed to maraud on the streets without any check whatsoever. And they are not there to picket. They are there apparently to protect property from other peaceful demonstrators. So at what point has the police force abdicated
Yes.
its duty, so
Right.
that the duty of protecting property and life now is in the hands of a certain community and not the police, as it were. So now this same man, the man who shot at a very close proximity to Mheshimiwa yesterday,
Yeah.
he was in the protest on Friday. His face is there in public, right? You have a car that rammed into people.
Right.
The owner is known, and everybody is out there in public. No action has been taken. No government statement has come out. How do we believe that we are Kenyans of the same worth in this country?
You know, when talking about the Nairobi business community,
Yes.
you know, failed states don't just happen overnight. It's a gradual process.
Right.
And some of the signs of a state that is surely in the direction, the path to failure,
Right.
are these ones. When you see private militia groups, like this Nairobi business community,
Right.
taking upon themselves to provide security to people who haven't asked for that service from them.
Yes.
Okay? And the police stands by and watches. So it tells you that slowly and slowly you will find a situation where people will start retaliating.
Right.
And there will be mushrooming of similar outfits.
Everybody
Left,
will feel
right,
the
and
necessity
center.
to protect
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah, of course, yes. Because if you can see people who are civilians like you being given latitude to own weapons to protect themselves, and in the process they harm innocent Kenyans,
Right.
like they did yesterday,
Yes.
then you see you are creating an environment which is conducive for other similar groups to mushroom. And if they do, you are definitely looking at a state of lawlessness happening here.
Let me just go through comments quickly. Michael, just echoing what Mheshimiwa said, these are signs of a failed government. People need change. Janet, you're saying nothing will compel me to do this to my worst enemy. Honorable Gloria Kipesa, watching. Well, I don't know if you have such a Mheshimiwa in the National Assembly or... Well, it's not a crime to call yourself honorable, is it?
Yeah. Honorable is nowadays commonplace.
It is not as commonplace.
Yes,
Jennifer, is there an acting president who can even denounce these acts of terrorism? Well, I don't know. I don't know much about these legal terminologies, but I think it's in our space to be responsible and condemn this. You know, the interesting thing, Mheshimiwa, is this gentleman, this man after firing, actually went and stood in the midst of policemen in anti-riot gear, and they comfortably gave him cover.
But you see, Baggy,
It's
we know we have been there before in this country.
right.
You'll recall in the heady days of the Kanu regime,
Yeah.
in his dying days, really,
Yes.
when there was this grouping called Jeshi la Mzee in Nairobi.
Jeshi la Mzee.
Yes, which was a law unto itself.
Yes.
It was working in connivance with full protection of the police.
Was it the same people who clobbered Timothy
Yeah,
Joy?
oh yeah, senseless.
Yes.
At the
Yes.
presence of Parliament,
Yes.
in broad daylight, in full glare of the media, and
Yes.
and what has happened is that even those people who use such forces or such outfits or such tactics in those days were defeated by the Kenyan people. So you can try to postpone the inevitable,
Right.
but it will eventually happen. And the inevitable here is that Kenyans will finally liberate this country from the bondage and the shackles of reactionary forces who have benefited from this system and intend to continue benefiting to the exclusion of other Kenyans. Yes.
Right. Now, let's get back to no reforms, no elections. I mean, yesterday, the NASA coalition leader, Raila Amolo Odinga, indicated that nobody can force him to participate in an election that he feels is flawed. We're hearing reports that he's going out of the country or he's out of the country. There is anxiety, Mheshimiwa. What next? What happens?
There should be no cause for alarm. You know, what's happening is basically the consequence of our collective failure as a country to appreciate that immediately the Supreme Court made the pronouncement which annulled the fraudulent election of the 8th of August.
Right.
The country was plunged into a crisis. The country was plunged into a constitutional and legal crisis. How do I say so? You know, immediately that pronouncement was made.
Yes.
And immediately it was determined by the Supreme Court that the IBC committed the illegalities and irregularities insofar as the management of that election was concerned. The entire IBC was indicted. The Supreme Court did not have to go further than that and start apportioning criminal responsibility on specific persons. No. It was obvious that from then, the persons who are in charge of the various dockets within the IBC that were responsible for the bungling of this election, which was obviously to the advantage of some party, which is Jubilee here, okay? Those persons should have vacated office to create an environment for holding of fresh elections.
Right.
Now, we have said, and consistently so, that we cannot go back to a repeat presidential election if the conditions we set for are not met. The conditions which have become known as the reducible minimum.
Yeah, the reducible minimums.
Are not met. But now what do you see? Apart from failing to meet those conditions, you find the Jubilee going ahead to introduce some very, very dubious amendments to the laws governing elections. Actually changing the rules of the game in the middle of the game, halfway through the game. Right. Now, that is why we have said we cannot be a party to such an election that is going to be spearheaded by people who bungled the first election first, and again, before specific technical issues are addressed in the manner we are prescribed. Right. And therefore, there's nothing really to talk about. It's either credible elections or no elections. You know, there are two ways about it. The Constitution does not contemplate some other election other than what is credible. Yes. Right. My lawyer here will tell you.
Yeah, I mean, the Chief Justice did say in strict compliance with the existing laws. So what happens? I mean, the 26th comes and passes. What happens?
You know, it is very the Constitution and our legal regime contemplates a single type of election. Yes. That which is free, which is fair, which is accountable. Anything to the contrary is a nullity in itself. And the Supreme Court has invalidated an election before and said you did not follow the law, and so that was a nullity. So when we say that if the election is not in strict accordance with that law, if there are no reforms, which are very common sense requirements, and these reforms, well, NASA has put forward the irreducible minimums, but they mirror in every sense what, for example, the European Union Observer Mission eventually presented to IBC, that you need to do some checks here, here, and there. The other bit is the issue of accountability, right? When you are running a small business and an employee occasions a loss of 100,000 shillings, right, you are likely to fire them.
Very fast.
You know? Very fast, right?
Very, very fast.
Here you have a commission and non-culprits. It's given 40 billion shillings, you bungle that election. You are again given another 10 billion shillings, and you want us to believe that nobody should be held to account. It is not common sense, it is not legal, it is not constitutional. So what happens beyond 26th?
Right.
If there are no reforms, there will be no...
No, let's say there are no elections. Right? What happens?
The country will be...
Who's in charge?
The country is definitely going to be plunged into a constitutional crisis. We are already there. I have seen the Attorney General beating his chest and saying the legal regime is adequate. It is not. So past 26th, there is no election.
There is no president.
At the end of the month, there will be no president.
And again, you know, when we say there's no election, you know, Jubilee tends to think that they can push through some form of election somehow, using the police, the army, and what have you. You know, but so long as it does not meet the requirements of the Constitution and the relevant laws, it is not an election. It's not an election. And therefore, what will happen thereafter, I'll leave it to the lawyers. But then, from where I sit, I believe nature will take its course.
Nature will take its course.
Oh, yeah.
Let me just read some quick comments before I come back to you, Mheshimiwa. Cecil Shish All along, Jubilee have tried to create issues to prove demonstrations are not peaceful. It's unfortunate. They did not expect this clip to happen. God works. Everyone is watching. Thanks to technology. Well, thank you to technology as well. If this clip wasn't there, I mean, they would have denied it.
Yeah.
Millicent, Lorraine, police, state. Wow. Business community Wakorada na NASA. Samuel Ndoch. Well, I don't know what Wakorada
what does it mean?
Means. If my sheng is correct, is a business community are watching. Vicary Omwando is a joint idiocy. Wow. Vicary, to pollute the water surface from which the society ought to drink, Jubilee will not contend with the consequences of such ill-advised moves. Caleb Nyamburi, watching live from New Jersey, USA. My fellow Kenyans, do not worry. These evil acts of police, because they got instructions from goons like, no, I will not mention the names, blah, 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 of this world. Mheshimiwa, some quarters in Jubilee have indicated that the NASA leader intends to go out of the country, come back in grand style, and probably take over government. I mean, they have said it in television talk shows. I mean, people are asking, how could the NASA leader be leading the country at this point?
I'm not aware of those other things they're talking about. But then, what I'm aware of is that, and at least I heard at least from the leader himself yesterday,
Yes.
that he's leaving the country in the course of this week
Yes.
for an official engagement in the UK,
Yes.
Friday,
Yes.
and come back soon thereafter. Really. And
Why would the people be worried? Why would some quarters in Jubilee be worried if the NASA leader travels?
they're basically suffering from their own guilt.
Yeah.
You know, there was some apprehension,
Right.
some guilt conscience.
Right.
Okay, that there's some things they've done which are too wrong.
Yes.
That there could be a remedy in the offing. so when they see the person of Raila Odinga make a move,
Right.
they must second guess.
Yes.
Hey, what is this move meant to achieve
Right.
in the short term and the long term?
In
So
the
you
short term
can
and the
excuse
long
them. Their preoccupation with Raila Odinga is exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I have had a lot of things from the Jubilee Battalion, know,
Right.
where they say
Yes.
if the Honorable Raila Odinga does not want to vie, he needs to speak and all that.
Right.
Raila has committed his entire life to this nation, and the last thing he would ever do is give up on it. So whichever decision that is being taken, whichever move that is being made, Kenya is right at the center of that decision. So let them second guess, let them speculate, but we either have reforms and have a credible election, or they can have their birthday. That is so clear. This is the right thing to do. It is the constitutional thing to do. We are backed by what is right, and we are backed by what is legal.
If I just speak your mind, the foreign voice appeared to pile pressure on the NASA leadership to allow IBC in its current state to conduct elections.
I would wish that we move these IBC to their countries and see whether they would allow it to carry an election in the first place. Because you have people who have clearly, delineated and defined flaws that happened in the electoral process. You can ascribe blame to a specific person, and then you want us to turn a blind eye to that. There is something that people are not talking about. Chris Musando, before he died, he went on TV and told us that we have configured this KIMS kit in a manner that will send a text result and an image simultaneously. Then he dies, okay? And then then a reconfiguration happens, which was admitted to by the chairperson, if you've read his memos. Then that reconfiguration happens, and the only results that are transmitted are text. A competent Supreme Court invalidates that election.
Right.
However is saying anything can continue saying it, but the truth is we must reform the electoral. It is not about Raila, it's about what is right for this country.
Okay.
You cannot have a Supreme Court invalidating an election and then going back to do the same things. And if you want to know that IBC is in a lot of problems, today as we are seated here, the chairman of the IBC is in the Supreme Court. asking the Supreme Court for very basic interpretations. Well, in fact, Mheshimiwa, I don't know why Maraga is listening to the gentleman. He should just have given him the Constitution, the election.
So he's asking for an interpretation when he's going to do a repeat.
To understand his role.
Yes, to understand his
role. So
he
didn't understand his role when we were doing it the first time.
That's what. Now let me try to contextualize it in the context of these reforms in quotes that Jubilee is trying to push through Parliament. Okay. When NASA went to court, the High Court disagreed with the interpretation of IBC and Jubilee lawyers on the interpretation of electoral law. They appealed it. The Court of Appeal in the minor Kiai case disagreed with the interpretation. The Supreme Court of Kenya disagreed with their view of the law. Okay, the last person to be telling this country about what is legal and how the law how the election needs to be conducted is one, Jubilee, and two, whatever the confusion is in the IBC. They do not understand. The chairman is back to the Supreme Court because they understand what his role is.
Wow. As I come back to you, so that you have the final word. I know you're going for a presser in a few. Duncan, we need an autumn uprising like the Arab Spring uprising. Wow. Liwayne Jr. watching from Mongolia, South America. Hey, Mongolia, that's quite far. Mheshimiwa, just as you make the rejoinder from what he mentioned, there's this parliamentary committee that was constituted. I don't know if it's legally constituted. It doesn't have NASA members. And it's taking comments from the public.
Firstly, speaking from the issue of the envoys, the foreign envoys.
Yes.
You know, first and foremost, these envoys represent the interests of their mother countries.
Right.
So, whenever they voice opinions, those opinions are in furtherance of their country's interests.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yes.
So, many times we listen to them because they are partners. But they cannot dictate to us how we conduct our business.
Yeah.
If our interests are at variance with their country's interests,
yes,
then our interests must proceed. Okay? So that they must understand.
Mm-hmm.
So they cannot dictate to us how we conduct our business, even though we welcome them. Secondly, you know, Parliament of the Republic of Kenya operates within the context of the Constitution, within the realm.
Yes.
Because it is a creation of the Constitution.
Right.
And the Constitution itself acknowledges that Kenya is a multi-party democracy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a constitutional democracy.
Yes.
Based on multi-partyism.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no time in Parliament, regardless of what kind of majority one party enjoys over the other.
Mm-hmm.
There's no single time that parliamentary business can be run with one party to the exclusion of the other party. That is the basic principle.
So basically, it's
it's an
act of,
and even if you go to the standing orders, which actually flow from the Constitution, specifically standing order number 171 of the National Assembly, which talks about the creation of the Constitution of the House Business Committee.
mm-hmm.
That's the committee that determines the business of the House, that prioritizes the order of business in the House. It's very clear that that particular committee can only be constituted with membership from both sides of the House.
Yes.
Specifically.
Yes.
Minority leader, majority whip, minority whip, and 7 others, nominated proportionately. So before you constitute that committee, there must be membership seconded to it from either side, from both sides of the other.
So it's not properly constituted.
It is not properly constituted, and they know it. The speaker knows it. Everybody knows it. What they are doing is basically impunity, as usual. Okay? So anything that arises from that illegality is equally illegal. Because the House Business Committee is what sets out the agenda of the House. Right. So even these other committees that they are formed, the so-called ad hoc committee on supplementary budget, the ad hoc committee on the legal changes,
yes,
are all illegal, unconstitutional, and legitimate. So whatever they have been doing in county hall, listening to Kenyan views, that is up to them. It is not constitutional. It will not add up to anything. The result will also be illegal. And that's why this afternoon we have boycotted any debate on those so-called reports from that committee.
Mheshimiwa, just as you finalize, moving forward, James Orengo did indicate that there will be demos tomorrow, on Friday, and come next week, every single day. What's the way forward on the demos?
Yeah, these demos will obviously continue. This week at least, thrice. Okay? Tomorrow again and Friday.
Right.
Next week, they could happen every day. Official conclusion will be made about that. Okay? And they will continue even after 26th of October. People should not start talking about 26th of October as if it is the end of the world. It will just be another day, any other day in the calendar of this country. Okay? So this demonstration will continue because they intend to achieve bigger things than just pursuit of power. Okay?
Right.
We intend to ensure that the country's democratic gains are safeguarded, even as we open more frontiers in terms of people's rights and freedoms. Yeah.
Well, we're just wrapping up. Wanjiko, you're asking, watching from Florida, can we get a clear legal scope of what happens if there are no elections and Maraga's 60-day window is over? What does the Constitution say? 30 seconds, we wrap up.
We hope that elections can be conducted. That is everybody's desire, but that election must be conducted in accordance with the laws, in accordance with the Constitution, and after reforms at the IEBC. So that is our prayer, that is our stand, and it will remain like that going forward.
If as Nyongesa, in politics you must play by the rules, but when the rules are changed, you must change how to play. So as NASA, we'll change our play watching from UK. Mheshimiwa, have the final word.
Yeah, I also want to agree with my colleague here. We definitely look forward to having credible elections as defined by the Constitution. Anything that short of that is a no. So, and we look forward to, of course, having a Kenya which is peaceful, but peaceful on the basis of justice and fairness. That is our objective. Yes.
Very well. There you have it. Felix Loan, and of course, Ugunja Member of Parliament, Opio Wandai. I mean, very hearty discussion. Mheshimiwa, I pray that you will be safe in the coming demonstrations. We'll be on the lookout for that.
That gentleman.
For that gentleman who appeared to have targeted, maybe fired pretty close to you. And also, I just hope these demonstrations can go on and be peaceful, and police can do what they are supposed to do or what is prescribed in the Constitution. Thank you for watching. In a bit, we'll be getting back to you live from Okoa, Kenya, where the NASA coalition, led by members of Parliament and, of course, the coalition leaders, are going to make a press statement. So be on standby. Please don't miss that. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.